This is Plant-Based Briefing. Heat exhaustion, amputated fingers, crushed limbs, the hidden cost of American turkey, Part 2 by Grey Moran and Miriam at sentientmedia.org. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. This is the Plant-Based Podcast where I narrate with permission a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And this article would have been longer than that, so it's a two-parter. I read the first half yesterday, so go back and listen to that if you haven't already, and then jump back here for part 2. And now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. Heat exhaustion, amputated fingers, crushed limbs, the hidden cost of American turkey, Part 2 by Grey Moran and Miriam at sentientmedia.org. The high number of injuries from falls didn't come as a surprise to Rivero, reflecting what he also sees in his own practice. That's very common in the meat processing or poultry industries because the ground is covered with debris, right? So even just traversing to the bathroom, you're at risk of slipping and falling, he says. Likewise, the 17 reported eye injuries didn't strike him as abnormal, especially given that at many meatpacking plants, the policy is you need eye protection, but that's up to you, right? We don't have company-issued eye protection, says Rivero. In one incident, an employee at a butterball processing plant developed conjunctivitis after dirty water splashed into the worker's eye. There were also 12 injuries among the workers classified by OSHA as catchers, responsible for capturing live turkeys and loading them onto a truck to be slaughtered. In the process of trying to catch the often 30-pound birds, the catchers suffered a range of injuries, including to the eyes, elbows, and shoulders. After catching the birds, they hung them upside down by the feet, bound by shackles, while still conscious, known as live hanging. I've heard about a lot of people getting hurt during the live hanging, says Richard Russell, who previously worked as a sanitation worker at a turkey plant in California's Central Valley. They're responsible for taking them out of the cages and putting them on the hook, so you can go through the whole cleaning process. Russell says that his job was physically taxing, especially the cleaning of the scalders, massive steel tanks of hot water that loosen the feathers from the turkey carcass. I had to physically jump inside the scalders, he says. I'd basically go through and I'd spray it down. We have pressure washing hoses that spray a little bit of bleach as well. He'd also used a scrubber to remove the rest of the carcass residues. After that, I would jump inside and I'd physically scrub whatever is still on the wall. Heightened pressure to not report injuries. These reported injuries represent only a segment of the total injuries endured by workers across the turkey production chain. The data is incomplete for several key reasons. For one, only turkey operations with a minimum of 100 employees are reflected in the data, excluding small turkey farms and processors. As more farms mechanize, relying on fewer employees, even large CAFOs have been deemed exempt from most injury reporting. The data also only reflects on-site injuries and injuries that required more treatment beyond first aid, requirements that lawyers and advocates argue are vulnerable to abuse and underreporting. For instance, meatpacking plants hire in-house nurses who allegedly limit the treatment of more severe injuries to first aid. We've heard dozens of reports from meatpacking workers and their advocates that serious injuries like musculoskeletal disorders, first-degree burns, and severe lacerations are treated by in-house nurses who simply provide ibuprofen and direct workers to get back on the line, writes Amal Bouabib, a senior staff attorney at FarmStand, in an email to Sentient. Not only are those injuries not getting reported to OSHA, they are not being characterized as worksite injuries for purpose of workers' compensation. When denied workers' compensation, workers are also bearing the significant costs of any later necessary treatment, including hospital and ambulance fees, says Bouabib. There's a long-standing issue of undocumented and otherwise vulnerable workers being fearful about speaking out about injuries, but the Trump administration's mass deportation agenda has placed an additional pressure on immigrant workers to remain silent, to a point where some employees are weaponizing workers' immigration status against them. Employers are reminding them that they could have immigration problems if they pursue their workers' compensation case, says Rivero. They're mentioning, hey, you don't want any problems with ICE, to deter workers from asserting their rights. Unsurprisingly, he's seen more immigrant workers keeping their heads down, hesitant to file workers' compensation claims when injured. They're afraid of doing anything at this point, he says. Some of Rivero's clients are even afraid of going to the doctor, concerned that ICE might learn the location of the medical office through their insurance. I don't want to say it's an irrational fear because at this point, I don't know what's irrational because, they're taking people from daycare centers, he says. He still encourages them to seek medical treatment, worried that the injury will worsen into a disability while left untreated. Lately, he's found himself pleading with his clients, "Hey, I get that's a real fear, but you nonetheless have this injury and you have to do something about it. You've got to see a doctor because that's your body. You're not going to get another one." You just listened to Heat Exhaustion, Amputated Fingers, Crushed Limbs, The Hidden Cost of American Turkey, Part 2 by Grey Moran and Miriam Quick at sentientmedia.org. And I'm Marian Erickson, your host. I have done a number of other episodes about slaughterhouse workers, farm workers, and of course a ton about turkeys and the horrors that their entire lives are. So please use the search field wherever you listen or go to plantbasedbriefing.com episodes. Use the search field there and put those terms in. Put turkeys, put slaughterhouse, put workers, put farm workers, put farmers. Those will all come up. And there's probably other documentaries with more recent information, but if you haven't seen Food, Inc., I remember the scenes about the immigrant workers were so horrifying and so disturbing. Just the inhumane abuse of power the employers would exert over these employees and the fear they would instill to keep the employees quiet and keep them in line. And I can't even imagine what it's like today with what this administration is doing. So feel free to check that out and please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.